Kids were out there transacting online.
Yeah.
But there was absolutely no way to limit the funds that they had access to, or indeed make it their money.
Yes.
So that was the concept. That's where it came from. It was solving a problem for parents. I was absolutely adamant it had to be practical. It had to be real money. Mm-hmm. I didn't want it to be an educational platform or, in fact, some of the early investors that we pitched to, there were quite a few of them sort of said, it should be a charity. It should be a nice little charity. I'm like, no, it's not going to be a nice little charity. It's going to be a commercial business.
Yes.
And it has to be real money.
Yes.
Because otherwise they're not going to,
defeats the object.
It's theoretical. It's not practical. We were adamant that this was going to be a good idea.
Yeah.
There was nothing, I know this sounds incredible, but there was nothing in the world. We looked in the States, we looked in Latin America, South America. There was literally nothing anywhere in the world that let a child use their own money on digitally with parental controls. Financial education will be mandatory in primary schools in England, all the way up through the school syllabus, starting in September 2028.
God, you really are a change maker. You've changed the whole school system.
My name is Claudia Green, and this is She Did That, the podcast shining a spotlight on remarkable women who are breaking barriers and proving that greatness knows no gender. From female founders who have raised millions of pounds, the investors changing the landscape as we know it, to survivors of tragedy who have achieved the amazing, and many more. We will share the stories of these incredible women who will inspire and empower you. In order to support us and these women, please subscribe on your viewing or listening channel of choice so we can continue our mission of sharing the stories that should and need to be heard.
My guest today is absolutely fascinating. I've been trying to get her on the show since day one, and with a lot of persistence and some light stalking, I've pulled it off. She started a business coming from a genuine need, from seeing that her children needed to learn and understand the value of money and how it works. So she started up a fintech from scratch with two other parents, and today it's now a multi-million pound business. They have helped over 2.5 million children understand finances and savings, and she has been in and out the Houses of Parliament and Downing Street to implement some massive changes within our school system, which will teach financial literacy. She's quite the powerhouse, and even though she's achieved so much, there is so much more to come. So this is definitely not one to miss when it comes to pure grit, determination, hearing no 103 times and still persevering. I'm very, very, very thrilled to welcome Louise Hill of GoHenry. Thank you so much for being here, Louise.
I'm excited to be here.
It's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
It has.
When I first started the podcast, I made like this dream list of guests, and you were obviously on it. And when I started it, I was like reaching out, and obviously like lots of people are so busy. I didn't anticipate how hard it would be, but you were on the list, and now 18 months in, I'm thrilled that I've got you here. Persistence pays off, doesn't it? I think I was commenting on all of your links. I think it was like borderline stalking.
Yeah. No, I'm flattered I was on your list. That's great.
You were. Well, I'm really excited to kind of delve in and find out about your journey. I purposely didn't research too much about your journey because I like discovering these things on the go. But where I always start, and what really helps, is the context behind. So kind of early days, young you, not that you're not young now, but like child you.
young me, child
where
me.
you were brought up, and then kind of where you studied at university and early careers.
Sure. Gosh, cast my mind back a long way. I grew up on the east coast of England, a town called Lowestoft, 2 streets back from the beach, which was an amazing place to grow up, because Lowestoft Beach, believe it or not, is a couple of miles of golden sand. It really is a beautiful beach. And I have to say, if I wasn't at school, I spent most of my time at the beach. I can remember in the summer holidays, my mother used to arrive about 5 o'clock in the evening and stand there on the promenade with her hands on her hips, sort of looking for the three of us. I'm one of three, the three kids, with a kind of, are you lot coming home for tea look on her face. And we'd follow her back home. But so that was where I grew up. And I loved languages. So I decided I wanted to study languages. I wanted to work with languages and be an interpreter. Don't ask me why I thought that, but did O-levels. It was a long while ago. Then A-levels. And then went to university in London, well, the Polytechnic of Central London, which is now the University of Westminster.
Yeah.
Which was one of the only places in the UK where you could actually do a degree in specialised translation and interpreting.
Wow.
So I did that. And then, I don't know if it's still the same, but in those days you had to enter open competitions, they called them, to qualify as an interpreter for the EU.
Oh, wow.
And somehow I got through that as well, and went off to the EU, to Brussels, to be an interpreter. And I have said this on a couple of other interviews. I absolutely hated it.
Did you? Oh, I wasn't expecting you to say that.
I absolutely hated it. I don't know what possessed me to think I was going to enjoy doing that, but I hated it. And after about 3 months of trying to stick it out, I phoned my poor parents and said, "Oh, I'm coming home."
Oh. So wait, what languages?
French and German.
Wow. And
French
what
and
kind
German.
of things were you? Because I'm imagining like MI5 style here.
Oh, good grief, no. Really boring administrative detail.
So not what you
conferences.
pictured exactly.
No. I think my one claim to fame, not when I was at the EU, but when I was at university, I translated some of the engineering booklets for Concorde.
Oh.
Yeah, from French to English.
Oh, okay. That is a claim to fame.
Yeah, my name's on those booklets somewhere.
Wow. Okay, so didn't work out there.
No.
Did that does sound dull. I was thinking like MI6.
No, not at all.
Going to prison cell.
No,
yeah.
No. So I came back to the UK, started applying for graduate trainee schemes, jobs, whatever I could find. And I got onto what was called a graduate fast track with the House of Fraser.
Okay, nice.
And spent about a month training with a whole load of graduates in London. And then they literally lined us all up one morning and kind of went 1, 2, 3 Edinburgh, 1, 2, 3 Cardiff, 1, 2, 3, wherever, Norwich.
Oh, gosh. Where did you go?
I went to Cardiff. I had a great time.
You liked it?
Yeah, got sent to Cardiff. Found a room in a shared house in a street that at the time I couldn't even pronounce the name because there were no vowels.
Something with a lot of W's and Y's.
Do you know, it was a short one, Crewis.
Okay.
The Welsh people out there will now tell me I've slaughtered their language, but Crewis Road. And stayed there, worked for the House of Fraser, worked in Howells for almost 3 years, and then got a job with an American management consultancy that was looking to expand into Europe and wanted graduates with a couple of years management experience who could also speak at least one other European language.
Yeah.
And that was great. I spent 6 years travelling all over Europe, laughably, a lot of it in Spain, Denmark, places where I didn't speak the language, and England.
Yeah.
And ended up on a big project in Bradford.
Oh, that's not Spain.
No, not Spain. Launching Next Directory.
Oh, wow.
Which was incredible. Absolutely loved it. And that meant, that was really, Next Directory was transformational in the UK.
Yeah.
You're probably way too young to remember it launching, but it was the first big B2C catalogue, which you had to pay for, by the way. It was
you had to pay for it. It wasn't like the Argos one that's free.
It was great big thick book. It cost £3, and people did pay for it because it was so new.
Yeah.
But it was also the start of e-com, because it was just as the internet was kind of getting powerful enough that you could download a page quickly enough to view clothes or homeware or whatever. So I sort of seamlessly sidestepped into e-com. and
Wow.
spent almost 25 years working with helping a lot of the bricks and mortar retailers launch their first e-com websites, always in operations. So always the website, the contact center, the pick, pack and dispatch warehouses, carriers, logistics, that side of it. But that was my background before GoHenry.
Well, I really expected you to say that you'd just done maths.
No. I was
fintech
It
company.
always makes me laugh when I've been asked to talk at a couple of kind of talk your career events, really.
Yeah.
And I did one actually for our own group, for the Acorns group, next to our global general counsel, Liz. And she was like, I always knew I wanted to be in law. I did law. I went to, I did law at college. I did law at my MA. I went to chambers. Absolutely linear career. And I was like, oh my word, I went left. I went right. I went left. I went right.
Oh, squiggly careers are the best though.
Careers,
That's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
So where did the concept of GoHenry come from initially? And like, what did it start out as?
It started out as a way to stop my kids spending all my money on iTunes, bluntly.
That's fair. Yeah.
My kids were, do you know what? Every time I have to say this, I intend to look up exactly how old they were. 7 and 9, 6 and 8, that
Quite
sort
young
of age.
still, yeah.
And my brother had bought them the tiny little iPods
I remember
for
those.
Christmas.
Yeah.
I had given them the login to my iTunes account, which had my credit card attached to it. And they were having a great time.
Oh, I bet.
So they were downloading music without a care in the world, certainly with no concept they were spending money. And I was trying to figure out, how do I make them understand it's money, it's got to come from somewhere. I recently got divorced, so single mum, trying to pay the mortgage, trying to cover all the bills, including the iTunes bill.
I won't ask how much it was.
Oh, do you know, not a huge amount really, but the age they were, I was giving one of them £4 a week pocket money and one of them £5 a week pocket money. And there were a lot of weeks where they owed me.
Right, okay.
So
should have sent the bailiffs in, shown them what it's really like.
Take back the
taking your sofa. Yeah.
Yes. And when I started talking to friends, other parents about it, everybody had got a story. It wasn't necessarily iTunes. Perhaps it was their 11-year-old had bought something crazy on eBay, or there was one little girl, one of my friend's little girls, who had spent almost £600 on hair scrunchies and bows for her little pony on some online game. You know, kids were out there transacting online.
Yeah.
But there was absolutely no way to limit the funds that they had access to, or indeed make it their money.
Yes.
So that was the concept. That's where it came from. It was solving a problem for parents.
And what was, when you sort of came up with the idea, did you know exactly what it would look like in terms of what you wanted to build? Like, how did you get from sort of idea to, okay, I'm going to build something? And equally, you know, did you have to fundraise?
Yes. Oh, yes.
We'll dig into female fundraising.
Did I know what it needed to look like? No. I was absolutely adamant it had to be practical. It had to be real money. Mm-hmm. I didn't want it to be an educational platform or, in fact, some of the early investors that we pitched to, there were quite a few of them sort of said, oh, you know, it should be a charity. It should be a nice little charity. I'm like, no, it's not going to be a nice little charity. It's going to be a commercial business.
Yes.
And it has to be real money.
Yes.
Because otherwise, they're not going to, you know,
defeats the object.
It's theoretical. It's not practical. Yeah. So it was a case of trying to work out what did we need to build, and then just asking, because I don't, as I've explained, don't come from a banking background, understand what the tools were out there that we could use, what the financial systems were out there we could use to build it. And I eventually managed to get a meeting with the person who at the time was the head of innovation at Visa in Europe. And great guy who gave us half an hour of his time and kind of went, no, I know exactly how to do that. Let me show you.
Yeah.
So introduced me to the world of prepaid cards, which I'd never heard of.
No.
But that allowed us to build the very first version of GoHenry.
And what was your first, like, did you have to fundraise immediately, or were you able to sort of do something?
Not really, no. Do you know, it's interesting. My 25-year-old son at the moment has, he's just built his own website, an app.
Wow.
And we're waiting for it to work its way through the App Store at the moment to launch his own online coaching and training business.
Oh, wow.
And I think back to, now that's without any background in coding or engineering or anything like that, but with some of the tools that are available today,
AI is
the
fantastic.
low code, no code.
Yeah.
He's just been able to slog away and learn that and do it in a couple of months.
Yeah.
No, we had to raise a lot of money. We had to partner with an issuing bank so that we had the correct licenses in place to be able to issue prepaid cards. We raised £672,000 before we even started.
Was that really tough when you didn't even have some sort of an MVP or working model to show?
Yeah, no, I
people?
literally had. And again, think back, it's we've been live in the UK. I'm trying to work out if we've been live 14 years. I think it's 15 years in November.
Yeah.
So this is probably 17 years ago. I literally had a PowerPoint deck printed out or available on screen. That was it. And there were some really great individuals, angels, high net worth individuals who were brave enough to believe that we could build something and put money in. So it took a long while. It took almost 18 months to find that money.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Because you never really realize, you see these fundraising announcements and you think, wow, they raised 3 million.
Yeah.
And it's, no one really knows the work that goes behind that.
Yeah.
And also on a personal level, like enduring many knockbacks.
Oh, so many knockbacks.
I mean, must be just so unbelievably brutal.
Yes. There were 3 of us who started the company.
Yeah.
The 2 dads who had kids at the same school as the school my kids were going to at the time. And I'd taken a job at the local council running a transformation project.
Yeah.
And that, for the first time in my life, that was literally kind of a 9 to 5 job. And if I got in at 8 and finished at 6, I could bank those 2 hours.
Right.
So I used to quite deliberately work longer hours, bank some time, and then I could take a day off, a couple of days off a month actually through doing that, and get up to London, which is where most of the investors were, and pitch. But it took a lot of legwork.
I think it's kind of, a lot of people talk about it's kind of the chicken and the egg, because most people have to earn an income and, carrying on paying their mortgage and bills, but you need to pour your life into this thing. And how do you balance that out? Well, you kind of need the investment to be able to draw some sort of a salary, even if you're living very frugally. And you just reach this point where you think, what's the balance here between the two? Yeah,
it's hard. We were adamant that this was going to be a good idea. Yeah. There was nothing, I know this sounds incredible, but there was nothing in the world. We looked in the States, we looked in Latin America, South America. There was literally nothing anywhere in the world that let a child use their own money on digitally with parental controls. So we were, the more parents I spoke to, and actually the more people we pitched to. At that point in time, most of the pitches very quickly divided into people who had kids in the right kind of age group who got it versus people who didn't have kids who just thought we were barking mad. The number of times somebody said, what on earth does a child need a debit card for? And I'm like, you haven't got kids, have you?
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for being able to bring investors on board who understand the need for, I mean, obviously they're not going to invest if they don't see the need.
Yeah.
But obviously, you know, it's hard to raise investment and someone's got to really be behind you. And it can be really tough. Like, I'm building something in the female space.
Yeah.
So when I go and speak to male investors, what was my favorite one? Well, my favorite one was, this could be a wonderful bedroom business. And I said, well, what qualifies as a bedroom business?
Yeah.
He said, you know, I can definitely see this business, you know, it could hit $1 million a year. And I said, whose bedroom's that happening in? Because that's not. But then when I met.
That's so insulting.
So insulting. And then I would meet, you know, a high-powered female, tell them about it. And they're like, the market's worth 150 million here. This could be huge. And I think the differences between are just.
You've got to find the people who get it.
Yeah.
And that means knocking on a lot of doors and taking a lot of pushback in knockdowns.
You've got to kiss a lot of frogs.
Yeah.
I had one guy who said, you look a certain age, are you having kids soon? Because this is going to take a lot for you. I was like, okay, then. That's.
I have to say, I skipped out in my sort of career history. Whilst I was working in e-com for 4 years, myself and a friend ran our own e-com business.
Oh, really?
And we actually raised the funds to print the first batch of 12 million catalogues whilst I was very pregnant with daughter number one. Oh, and I used to make her walk into the room first, and then I'd sort of sidle in behind her, not exactly trying to hide my bump, but, you know, and then at some point say, look, let me just address the elephant in the room. Yes, I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
But my brain still works.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories. I've interviewed a lot of female founders who've said, like, they signed their term sheets on the way into their C-section and stuff, and still hadn't told the investor they were having a baby. And I think, what a sad climate we're still in. So you raised the funds.
Yeah.
You built kind of the first iteration.
Yes.
When did it actually start to take off, or, you know, you get that moment where you're thinking, okay, this is really working?
Yeah, it was a slow start. So we launched, we got the all-important letter from the issuing bank saying you now have permission to go live in the UK and issue cards in November 2011.
Okay.
That was a huge day, but then of course you've got to wait for the customers to come.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was slow. We used up the vast majority of the funds we'd raised pre-seed, as I now know it's called, to build the product, build the customer service back office, put everything in place. So we had some money left for marketing, but, you know, we originally thought going through schools, so persuading schools what we were doing was a good idea, and then getting them to talk to parents would be the obvious way. Wasn't at all. Oh. So it took a while until we really got digital marketing working for us, and then things started to pick up. And that was probably a year and a half in.
Yeah.
And so we went for another round of funding, went back to the angels and high net worth individuals, brought in another couple of investors with them, and managed to keep going like that. But it was really 2016. So it
took a long time.
2016, we were about to go for venture capital.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, we had about 50,000 paying customers at that point. And yeah, I was happy. Okay, this is working. Subscription model, so it's recurring revenue. The customers were staying with us long enough. And I thought we'd proven it was a viable business. So assumed we would go to venture capital, but the team from Crowdcube approached us and said, you're perfect for crowdfunding. Will you consider it? Because we're B2C business. We had about 50,000 customers. we had, as they put it, a very strong emotional pull. What were we doing? We're teaching kids to be smart with money. It was a worthwhile, a worthy cause, very much a mission-led business. And so I have to be honest, at the time I sort of thought, well, if we can raise £1 million from crowdfunding, we were looking for £4 million. So if we can raise £1 million from crowdfunding, that would be amazing. And then we'll obviously go to venture capital funds and pitch and get the rest there. And how wrong I was, because we became the first company ever to hit what was then the legal limit for pure equity crowdfunding, which at the time was €5 million.
Wow.
So we hit which was almost exactly £4 million. So we raised entirely from crowdfunding.
And what are the advantages of crowdfunding over VC funding?
Great advantages, but they are also the same things that are disadvantages. So one advantage that I'd never thought about was that the whole company got behind it and got really excited. So it was an amazing marketing campaign for the brand, because we were out there talking to everybody and very, very visible. But it was actually an amazing boost for the team, because they were so proud of what we were doing and so proud of the response we got back from the public who wanted to invest. So that was an advantage I hadn't really thought about. But one that I had thought about, we'd got £4 million and nobody else on our board. We didn't have a VC sat on the cap table or indeed round the board table. And so that meant we were very much able to stay steering our own destiny. However, I now realise that, of course, was a double-edged sword, because we didn't have a VC. So when we needed more funding later on, we didn't have a VC who knew us already and trusted us and knew the numbers, who could follow on or indeed introduce us to other funds.
Yeah.
So, a bit of a double-edged sword, but brilliant at the time.
Yeah.
It really was. And we actually did the same thing again in 2018 and brought in another 6.2 million.
Oh, wow.
Through crowdfunding.
That's amazing. So
and that's some people invest £10.
Yeah, but do you know what? It's quite nice like that. I invested on something on Crowdcube a few years ago, and I put £75 down.
Yeah.
I just thought, why not?
Yes.
It's my first dipping my toe into investment.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a way for people who want to very, very slowly be involved and try it and understand. Yeah. And then you do get to understand, you get the investor updates, you sort of understand the process of being an investor, and then how that works and how it can't work sometimes.
Yes, I feel, given what I do and GoHenry, that I should at this point say, don't ever put all your money into crowdfunding. You need a diversified portfolio.
Oh gosh, yes.
So this is not financial advice.
No, that's why I only put £75 in, and the company didn't make it, so it was a loss of £75. But it was a learning experience regardless. So how much did you raise overall, like to date?
In total,
before
we so almost 3 months ago, almost 3 years ago, next month it will be 3 years ago, we came together with an American fintech called Acorns. Prior to that, we'd raised £123 million. Yeah, so the 2 rounds of crowdfunding. Then I've got to try and get my dates right. In 2020, we'd launched in the States and needed more funds to really push out the marketing in the States. And we raised 40 million.
Wow.
I will, if you have 2 minutes, tell you the story there. We pitched to 103 UK and EU funds and did not get one that was prepared to lead the round. We had 7 who said they were prepared to follow if we could find a lead. But that was absolutely brutal.
103?
103.
But
I have the spreadsheet. I still have the spreadsheet. One day I'm going to blow it up to poster size and pin it on the wall.
Please. I'd love to see that. That's absolutely wild.
Yeah.
To go through 103 people.
Yes, and where we thought we'd got a sound business. We could demonstrate traction. We got huge
product
growth.
market fit.
We were in the States as well. We got all the licensing, all the regulation covered off in the States. We'd launched over there. We were beginning to grow over there. Yeah. So we went to the States instead.
Yeah. And how was that process versus?
It took 3 months and we'd got the funds.
Wow.
So
really?
Yeah. And one of the funds who had said they would follow from Europe did.
I bet
and has
they're glad they did.
Has reinvested since. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that is crazy. I think that just shows that you have to have quite a lot of persistence and resilience
You do.
to make it. Because I read a story about Melanie Perkins from Canva, where she'd had something like 100 no's. And she carried on because she believed it. You beat her on that. But you think, and I read it and I thought, how would I weather that? How do you weather 100 no's? You'd start to think, I haven't got something here.
Yeah, well, do you know what? The first few, and you know, I try and work with a number of startups and scale-ups now, and I always trot this piece of advice out to them. I don't know whether I want to call it advice, but the first few times you get a no, and the fund tells you why, says it's not, you know, you've not got enough growth, or you've underestimated the TAM, or you've whatever, you take it incredibly seriously and you go back home or to your office and you reshape your whole pitch deck, and then you go and pitch to another one and they tell you something, they say no for a completely different reason, and you come back and you reshape all your... After a certain while, you either have to believe... They have to give you a reason for saying no, so they're going to pick something.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you just have to decide, do you believe in your numbers, and do you believe you will find the right fund who's going to believe in them too?
Yeah.
And keep going and stop changing everything every time.
This one's a broader question, so it might not be so easy to answer. But is there, now you've kind of experienced it from inception all the way through to brilliant success, is there, when you're consulting or giving advice to others, is there kind of a formula that worked for you particularly? Or how did you, like, when did you get to the point where you were 50,000 and then suddenly you'd hit, I don't know?
Do you mean a formula that worked in terms of finding investors?
No, but in terms of making the business a success, was there a turning point at any point where you tried something new or something happened that really, you know, turbocharged it? Or was it quite, you know,
an awful
steady?
lot of what we now call experiments. We used to call it testing, but we now talk a huge amount about constant experimentation. So we're always having 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 experiments running and iterating really, really quickly on them. If there was one thing I think that I would pick out, and this is because we are B2C in particular, it was realizing the power of referrals. So whether you call it refer a friend or, again, as we do now, and I'll explain the distinction we make, advocacy. I don't think I paid enough attention to that early on. And actually, that was a miss on my part, because when I think about how, as a mum, as a parent, I behaved, if I found something that really helped me as a mum, the first thing I did would be tell all my friends. I'd be so pleased I'd found something that saved me time or helped my kids get a head start, or, you know, whatever it was. I'd immediately tell all my friends. Well, silly me, why didn't I think about that from a GoHenry perspective? So when we started to look at how many people were saying their friend had told them about us, or their sister had told them about us, and we started to build refer a friend schemes, that really unlocked growth. And you know, I can remember us looking and realizing that at the time, and this is going back a long, long time, close to 20% of all of our sign-ups were coming from refer a friend.
Oh, wow.
Referrals. And now we look wider than that. So obviously we have promo codes that are refer a friend codes, but if you haven't come in on a refer a friend code, then maybe 6 weeks in, we'll ping you a communication asking you how you heard about us.
Yeah.
If we then add in all the additional people who say, oh, my sister had it, oh, one of the kids at school, the mum told me about it, which is what we call advocacy now. So it's a refer a friend code, and what we find out later is people saying that somebody else has told them about it.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's a huge percentage of our new customers.
Yeah, I think people are often fixed on these big experimental marketing, digital marketing, and those are all really useful. But sometimes you just have to just strip it back and think, what's human behavior? And it is true. You talk about things to your friends, especially if you've got fellow parents that are friends of yours, and you think, oh, I've got this great new thing. So it does go a long way. How many users at your height have you reached?
We call them customers.
Sorry, customers.
No, it's all right. Customers. It's one of those, when anybody joins us, we always have to go through a process of getting them used to saying customers and not users. Users always sound so mercenary to me. I know that's what a lot of people refer to their customers as. They're customers. At the moment, I think we're up to 2.3 million kids that we've helped get smart with money.
That's phenomenal. Do you ever have you had that moment where you've kind of just been able to sit there and think, God, look what I've done?
Do you know what? I mean, that sounds really big-headed, but there have been all sorts of moments like that. Yeah, the as we got close to the millionth customer, which was a good few years ago now, the whole company got really excited about it, and we ran a campaign for, will you be the millionth GoHenry child, and actually we invited in the very first GoHenry family as well. So we brought the millionth family and the very first family into our offices and kind of hosted them for a week of doing exciting GoHenry things. But that was really nice. That was lovely. But all sorts of things. Do you know that actually the one that's had the most impact on me personally, and I think it took me a couple of weeks to come down from it. Our mission statement has always been making every kid smart with money, and we chose that word "every" very deliberately. So I said earlier, we're a subscription business. We know that means not every family can afford to pay for GoHenry or wants to pay for GoHenry. And so just over 5 years ago, I challenged the board and the leadership team. We said, right, so how do we, if our mission statement is every child, how do we reach every child? And we looked at whether we could start a GoHenry Foundation and find a way to fund that and then give GoHenry for free to families. But actually decided we could tie ourselves in knots trying to determine who gets it for free and why, and who doesn't get it for free. So what I did instead was think about, how do you reach the most children in the UK? School. So having gone from thinking school was the answer to get GoHenry customers on day one, kind of 10 years in, decided actually we need to start campaigning for financial education to be made mandatory in the school curriculum, which it wasn't in England. And if we do that, starting at primary school, I missed that bit out, and that's really important because there's lots of evidence that shows financial habits are formed, not start to be formed, are formed at the age of 7.
7?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, you think about how kids soak up information and soak up what's going on in the home. if they grow up in a home where nobody talks about money,
Yes.
or money's scary, or money's worrying, those are the habits they can be left with for life. So getting in there early is really, really important, and teaching them that money actually is a tool that they can use and they can be empowered with, and gives them choices. So set on a whole new learning curve of trying to figure out, how do you speak to government? How do you speak to policymakers? How do you influence policymakers?
Yeah.
And started doing that. And
Wow.
in November 25, so just recently, after a huge amount of work, umpteen visits to Downing Street and the House of Commons, House of Lords, anywhere else where somebody would listen to us, there was an education select committee set up into financial education in schools, which we gave evidence to. We provided all of our data on behavioural change to the government, to the Department for Education, to anybody who could use it, the policymakers. And the Labour government commissioned a curriculum and assessment review, which we also gave evidence to and gave all of our data to. And in November, they came back with their report. And the government endorsed that report, which I now know that's a key thing. It might not sound like a funny word, but if the government endorses it, what that means is it's going to happen.
Great.
It's not just a report that gets put on the shelf.
Yeah.
So financial education will be mandatory in primary schools in England, all the way up through the school syllabus, starting in September 2028.
God, you really are a change maker. You've changed the whole school system. That's a big one.
I will say there are other people campaigning for it too. But no, we set out a manifesto. We ran a Make Money Count campaign. We put a petition out to get it discussed in the Houses of Parliament. We lobbied MPs, lords, ladies, baronesses. Yeah.
How did you get through the door of the Houses of Parliament?
Persistence.
Yeah.
There's a reel out there somewhere. Actually, it was the team at Ideas Fest who put it together. I've just asked them for a copy of it because it made me laugh so much. I tend to wear a lot of bright colours, and I don't know how many times I've been to Downing Street, but it's quite a lot. And they had done a reel of me stood outside Downing Street in a yellow dress, a green dress, a red dress, a pink dress.
Okay, so you caught Keir's eye with your striking clothes.
Well, hopefully with my striking and accurate information on why it matters.
That too.
Yeah.
But that is something to be incredibly proud of, and it does actually show that you whilst you originally set out to fulfill a consumer need, the passion was always so genuine, and that you genuinely care.
And even more so, it's grown more so over the years because we've seen, and our data shows that if you teach kids about money, if you give them the tools, not necessarily through GoHenry, even if you just give your child a little bit of pocket money, the same amount every week, their behaviour changes. They start to save, they start to think about longer term money plans, and that behaviour change lasts into later life.
No, that is true. In fact, my nephew's 6, and he's they give him pocket money, my brother, my sister-in-law, and he built up quite a nice nest egg of about £75.
Good for him.
I tested him and I said, Auntie doesn't have any money, but I really want this makeup brush. Would you buy it for me? And he was like, how much is it? And I said, it's £20. He was like, that's quite a bit of the money I've saved. And I was specifically saving for this trampoline that's 110. And I was like, okay, I never could have reeled that off when I was a child at all.
I was going to say, he's going to go far.
Yeah. But you do see behavioural changes now versus when I was younger, I did get pocket money.
Yes.
But I didn't see pocket money as like the limit. I thought, well, that's what I'll use, and then when that runs out, I'll just ask for more.
Yeah.
So didn't take it too seriously. But it's true, this financial literacy is such a big, important thing. And I'll edit this out if you think this is a terrible example. But when you see people who go on, for example, reality TV shows, and they go from working minimum wage jobs to coming out and earning, sometimes £1 million, £2 million pounds, and they don't know what to do with it. And there have been a couple of suicides relating to they didn't know what to do with their money. They didn't know about accountants. They didn't know about how taxes worked or anything like that. Yeah. And then they got themselves in a hole. And you think, if you weren't brought up in an environment where you learnt about those things, how are you supposed to know? If you're 21 and you're just in the public eye.
I could not agree more. And to be fair, I think a lot of the reality shows have realised that they need to provide a lot more kind of, I'm going to call it wraparound care than they used to. And that can be both psychological mental health care and actually financial advice, because and the other place where that might have happened in the past in particular is football.
Absolutely.
Super young footballers suddenly coming into phenomenal amounts of money.
And it can ruin lives. They don't know what to do with it. They go crazy with it. And so that's why I do also agree that it's just so important that's embedded at such a young age.
Yes. I'm going to make a pitch for another company. There is a company called Fint.
Okay.
FIINT.
Okay.
Which has actually been set up by a wealth advisor.
Right.
And 2 reality TV stars, precisely because when they made the money that they've made through, I think, one Love Island and Strictly Come Dancing. Can you tell? I don't watch
you
it.
Love reality.
Strictly Dancing. Strictly Come Dancing. Right.
Yeah.
No, they're super guys, and they were put in touch with a wealth advisor, but they realised how close they came to not knowing how to manage their money. Well, they didn't know how to manage their money, but they were put in touch with somebody who did, and they've actually set up an investing learning platform called Fint to help other people learn about investing. I mean, no, I didn't come from a wealthy family. Whenever anybody asks me, what do I wish I'd known about money when I was younger, I wish somebody had told me that investing isn't just for rich people. Because I thought investing was, things that 55-year-old white men in dark suits did. And that sounds very dodgy now I've said it like that, but
no, but it's true.
I thought it was for wealthy people.
Yeah, it's the lack of financial literacy, and I think a lot of people don't know, even if they came from middle class families. Why would they necessarily know?
Fintech has been able to democratize investing, and the other half of our business, Acorns, the fintech that we merged with 3 years ago, is an American-based fintech, and that is all about encouraging what they call the everyday American to invest and start with $1 a day or $20 a month, whatever you can afford. Put it in a diversified fund, leave it there. Put away the same amount or whatever you can afford every month, and let it grow. Let compound interest do its work, and let the power of the markets do their work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's still so much work to be done in terms of, your initiative and the fact that it's passed is going to make such a huge difference.
I do hope so. I really think so.
And I think when people really dig into the importance of it, you really do see like the negative impacts of when someone doesn't have financial literacy and how damaging that can be.
And it's so, if I go back to when I was a child, there was only cash and checks.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have any more money in your purse, you didn't have any more money. And you couldn't buy anything else.
It's alarming.
I know.
Can't call your mum at the petrol station.
There wasn't even, credit cards. When I was a child, credit cards didn't really exist. I mean, I'm sure they did for one or two wealthy individuals, but not for everyday people.
Yeah.
And so if you think about credit cards, you think about easy access overdrafts, very expensive overdrafts.
Yeah.
Buy now, pay later. I mean, there's just so many ways you can spend money that you don't have today so easily.
Yeah.
And particularly if you're using buy now, pay later and lots of different providers of that, you suddenly end up with bills scattered all over the place and without one view of how much you owe, really hard to budget. So that's why it is even more important now.
It's dangerous. It does wreck lives and it destroys families. And I think that it's, something that's 100% necessary to be brought in. And also just for like a good foundation for someone to understand the value of money, just in terms of, I can afford this, I can't. But if I work at this, I can afford X amount, and just make sense of how this all works, I think is just so important. So congratulations. I'm so happy that I'm genuinely so happy this initiative was passed and that it's going to be infiltrating the school system, because I think it is long overdue.
So September 28. We've been in touch with the Department for Education, and we're going to work with them on providing them with more whatever we can in terms of helping them frame what the curriculum will look like. And I know the team that's in charge of building that curriculum and implementing it, they are super keen that it's not just theoretical, that it's practical learning as well. So I think that's great. And in the meantime, because it's about a year and a half before that will happen, we've released all of our money missions videos, which are little bite-sized money lessons. We've released all of those on YouTube for free, so that any family who wants to can download them and start having those conversations about money.
Wow, you really are giving back then, which is incredible. Is there anything that you haven't got under your belt? I mean, you're a change maker, you've built a multi-million-pound business as a woman, which is harder. I'm discovering. Is there anything left that you think, God, I'd love to say much. I did that?
So many things.
Give me a couple of examples.
I've just joined as chair of the board a company called Phonetti, which uses voice recognition software. It's produced a read aloud app. I'm probably describing that really badly, but it's an app that kids can read all the books they recognise from at school, from the bookshops, and can read aloud. And it kind of coaches and helps them along with that and builds up their fluency, their oracy, their ability to speak in public as well. It gives them much more confidence to speak in the school classroom, school assembly, anywhere really, but really instills the love of reading, because I didn't know this, 25% of kids in the UK leave primary school without the reading skills necessary to go to secondary school.
Yeah, that's alarming.
25%, that's 1 in 4. So, and when you look at the amount of reading kids do, it has gone down every year for the past 5 years. So it's getting that love of reading back and that ability to read, because that unlocks so much in terms of education and everything else in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, I've just started doing that. And no, I'm excited to do whatever we can to help with what the new financial literacy curriculum will look like and how that's implemented in schools. I work with a number of startups and scale-ups to try and support and help. Most of them are female founded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a busy bee.
Yeah, I love it.
You love it. Well, that was incredible. I have one last question. If there is someone listening I mean, they're mostly female listeners, given she did that. But to the woman listening who's had 100 doors closed in her face and one hasn't opened yet, do you have a message for her?
Oh, just keep going. Just keep going. Yes, if you believe in what you're doing, just keep going.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds like a perfect note to end on. It was a pleasure. I could have spoken to you for hours. You're fascinating. But thank you so much. And I can't wait to see how you're going to change the world. You quite literally are changing the world. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'll continue stalking you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, well, I'm going to listen to some more of your podcasts.
Oh, I love that.
I obviously listened to a couple before I came here. So
okay.
yeah.
Love that. All right.
You.
Thank you, Louise.